All right. Are you ready to jump in?
I was born ready.
You were born ready. Let's do it.
Okay. What I encountered is that something that is happening right now is that I'm opening up to a certain kind of vulnerability that brings me very far back into my childhood. That I noticed in all kinds of situations. Um, and this is very strongly related to shame. And when I look at my relationships in the past, I see how this is something that came up time and time again, that I felt scolded by my partners. And I would go into this dysregulated state. I would either go into like a fight response of like, yeah, but I didn't know, you didn't tell me what you wanted, I couldn't have done better, or I would go into like devaluing of myself and being like, yeah, I messed this up, I'm a terrible person, I can't do it better. And so this is really going into this feeling of not being good enough and wanting probably parental um, admiration or like acknowledgement and praise, and being really scared of that opposite, right? Of being met with misunderstanding, scolding. Um,
So, failure in general. How do you relate to failure in general? Are there other types of failure that are easy for you that you can embrace where you're like, this is something that does not make me feel ashamed. That does not.
oh, hardly. I feel like there's but even there, I was about to say there's like a playful context in which that works.
Hmm.
But then when I think back on like board game nights, it can hit me really hard, honestly.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm trying to be mindful of that, right? Because like it's it's something that I'm teaching to my students, right? That making mistakes is how we learn. And I'm aware that
Great,
this is
great.
something that is it's far easier to preach that than to embody it myself. So it requires awareness for this is what is happening. And when I'm in a state where I'm not being able to put more attention there, more energy there, then it's really difficult for me. It doesn't come naturally to me. I think that's the that's the point. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. So you're not allowed to fail.
Essentially.
Okay. And you likely learned that from your parents.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah.
And so, what are you telling your students?
Hmm. Um, so so what I try to use is to use playful metaphors, right? Like to come from a perspective of
Play.
play. There's no real rules. Like we can set ourselves rules to practice something specific, right? But like ultimately, when it comes um, to learning to express ourselves creatively or to yeah, even if we want to practice a certain skill, like we we need to have these repetitions of noticing what works and what doesn't work.
Hmm.
Um,
So, what that what I hear when I hear that is when you're switching something to a game, you're taking the collateral out. So now there's no consequence anymore.
yeah, or it doesn't. Yeah, it can just be an experiment, right? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be perfect. the perfectionism gets softened at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say then you're also not failing.
Sure, sure.
You know?
I mean, rationally, this makes sense, right? Like, of course, like failing is a construct of arbitrary rules under which I am failing, right? Like that is like it makes a lot of sense for me to think about things in this way. And yet embodying them seems to be it seems to still be a very big challenge
And it's
to really
also
feel that that is true.
and I would say that's another way around failing.
Elaborate.
So if you do that, if you apply the rules of play onto your life, then again you would reduce the impact of consequence. It would now it's like, yeah, well, rules are arbitrary, I'm moving within those. Failure is a construct, but you're kind of removing the weight or the consequence of your actions. So you're taking, finding a way around doing something that you could consider wrong or shameful or harmful or in any other way, miserable, inferior. Um, and so, what I'm curious about is what happens if you create a space for that in your life, where you say, okay, what happens if I consider the possibility that I make real mistakes, that I take impactful decisions and they harm people or they are not, they have negative consequences that I might potentially really regret. What happens then?
Hmm. Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking about while I heard you speak. I think this is kind of hitting home and what I feel I'm so afraid about.
Yeah.
Um, because it feels like then I'm not deserving their love and
Yeah.
affection and attention if I'm hurting them, right? And I think this is something that I see how that is reflected in many of my past relationships.
Yeah.
Hmm. So something that comes up for me in my first long-term relationship, um, we've been already together for quite a while, but we were still teenagers. We were like 18, 19. Um, so what happened was in this state, I went to a festival and I hooked up with another person. And I knew that this would hurt her.
Yeah.
I knew in the moment that this would be painful. And
You did it anyways.
I did it anyways. Um, against even the resistance. Like it was really strange, almost like a caricature, right? Like I was somewhat intoxicated, but like when we were there, she even asked me if there was another person at home waiting for me, and I was like, no, it's all good, right? It's all good. Um, so I had this additional layer of agency of really like making that choice in the moment, that this is what I felt like I had to do. And then I felt terribly ashamed the next morning, and I felt terribly ashamed. Um,
So what I hear is this was a long time ago. My question, if I may, is
sure, sure.
um, how was there an element of rebellion in choosing to do it anyways?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And how much of that rebellion was also a rebellion against shame, as in, you know, you're gonna make me feel bad about this. I want it, so I'm gonna do it anyways.
I like that perspective. It's not something that I considered before. Okay, yeah. So this is exactly what's going on. This is exactly what's going on. Like this thing of like wanting to claim ownership for what is happening. Being in integrity also in the way of like knowing what the consequences of my actions are, but it was a blind spot for me that this is coming from a place of rebellion against that shame. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because that is how it feels. It feels like I'm going to a more reckless state and I'm going really far into like, yeah, but this is what I want to do, kind of like a also spiteful perspective.
And there may be more nuance to it, you know, in terms of, you know, to think about like what could be scenarios where you take full ownership and still make the same decisions. Um, One aspect I'm curious in is what happens if the fear takes over. And you said earlier something like you can feel like you're undeserving of love, or you know, you didn't. There's like this self hate. It can get really. It can run really deep.
What happens if the fear takes over? I think something that I'm connecting to that feeling is yeah, this feeling of taking the full blame, right?
Yeah.
Like not taking ownership, but taking the blame, right?
Yes.
Like I could have known better.
Yeah.
I should have done this, I should have done that.
So the shame talking, basically giving the
Yeah,
shame.
yeah. And
What does
then
it tell
I
you?
end up with that feeling of yeah, I get more rigid, right? Like I get
Yeah.
more stuck with yeah, I need to do better, basically, right? I will better myself. I will do it differently next time. Yeah, it feels very much like a shameful kid that is trying to prove something. But then of course, like the next situation happens just the same. Like nothing nothing comes of it. Um
What I'm curious about is, does the shame have a draw a picture of who you are? You know, does it, how small does it make you? How nasty does it make you? Like, what does it make you look like?
like the word that comes up is insignificant. I
Mm-hmm.
feel
Mm-hmm.
like I don't matter in this instance.
So it's annihilating. Yeah.
I think you could say that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that might be why you placed it in early childhood, or like said it goes way back.
it's how it feels. I wonder if there's something that goes further back, but like maybe not, because usually like when I work on those topics, I feel like most of the time I can remember the situation where I felt that way before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then again, it would take a different form. Like there has been a thing with taking care of my parents and when they had fights. So maybe there's something there also with, yeah, and there's definitely also a thing with getting recognition through being flawless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like doing the things the right way. I see that is a pattern. Mm. And then maybe this is just how it plays out when I get
Some
older.
some of these things can also carry over generations. Sometimes it's a way the parents act towards the child. If it's existential like that, I almost always see it as something pretty primal. Else it would be more reduced. It wouldn't be this fundamental like I cease to exist kind of thing. Um, and so sometimes that's something the parents instill, as in you are loved if you are, a good child. And else my love, for example, is withdrawn, which can be deadly to a child, existential, dangerous. Um, and that can be very subtle. It can be something like a cold shoulder, or uh, depending on this kind of family culture. Sometimes those things also carry over. It can be a way the parents treat themselves, that they perhaps learn from, the way they were treated by their parents, or their parents treated themselves. So those things can be handed down through generations and generations and generations. So that's why I don't always search for kind of the origin story.
Mm-mm. Yeah, makes
Um,
sense.
Even though it can help to have one, just so you have like a, something to grasp and work with. Um, the antidote is to see, okay, how can you see that your shame cannot annihilate you,
Mm.
and what people think cannot annihilate you. It may not even, harm you, but it can definitely not annihilate you.
I think I know that intuitively, right? I see that this is that generally I'm getting better at dealing with this, at recognizing when something is happening and reminding myself that this is a story, basically, right? That my worth is unaffected by whatever outside experience I'm having. Mm. Yeah, but then of course this is a meta perspective, and it still gets activated in a situation. Um, like what I wonder right now is when is the moment where I would need to be able to make that shift, to recognize that this is happening, and I can take a different perspective. I can choose differently this time. Mm.
Do you feel the shame when it comes? Like the recording you told me about where you recorded yourself, did you feel it in that situation, or did you notice it in retrospect?
I think in that situation I felt it, but that was also like I feel like the situations where I don't notice it as much is when there's this when there's this rebellion against it, right? I feel
Yeah.
like that is something
Yeah.
that I just didn't have an awareness for.
Yeah.
And then I don't notice it. And then I'm more in this like, oh yeah, but I just want to do my thing. And I just want to live in the moment. And I just
Be
want
free.
to
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um so that would be interesting how much that awareness already changes my ability to interact differently with that context, with that situation. Mm. Yeah, when I'm in that, I think I do notice. I do notice I don't always get out. I don't always find the moment where I need to really take action in a way of protecting myself, changing the context, taking a moment to regulate or do whatever. Like I'm used to pushing through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have this big desire, like especially when there's a conflict, like when this comes up in like a relationship setting, like I have this big internal desire to solve things, right? Like having open emotions. It's hard for me to deal with that. And it's something that I'm also working on to 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 really acknowledge that sometimes this is the best way to solve the situation, to just
Feel through it.
take take a moment. Sometimes it's done in 15 minutes, right? Like really just bouncing off, do something by yourself, stretch, like get some fresh air, whatever, and then you can communicate differently. You find a different angle to tackle this. Sometimes it might take a few days, right? Like it's also fine. Um, but when I'm in that situation, that feels unsafe. That feels
Yeah.
dangerous.
To go into the emotion feels dangerous.
Yeah, and
What?
to postpone an interaction and to sit with the
Okay.
emotion for the time being and to just regulate first and then come back to it. So I think this is something that I'm also just getting more and more aware of when that is happening, when this pattern is activated, to be able to pull myself out of it is still difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So for the fear, when the fear comes up, if it's possible for you to find a way to go into it, if you can hold that, maybe that's kind of stretching the limits of this conversation. Um, but if there's a way to let it flow, go into the fear. Have you read Dune by any chance?
No, no. Oh,
Well,
but you're the second person in a short while that is asking me that question.
well, Dune is one is put it on your bucket list, and two, it's very kind of in people's awareness right now because they finally managed to put it in movies. Um, but there's a poem, a fear poem in there, um, which is
The
just
Mind Killer,
great.
right? It's in the film too. Fears and Mind Killer.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what it says, I'm not gonna resist it. I'm gonna go into the fear. I'm gonna let it move over me and through me, and where it was, nothing will remain. Only I will remain. Um, which, and this is not word by word. It's even better
No, no, no.
in the original. Um, and the thing is, fear. Sometimes we see fear as like a fear of losing something. In this case, I would say it's a fear of losing an identity, the idea of being good at something. Um, it's like I'm a good partner, I'm a good musician, I'm a good person. Um, and to see what happens if you let that identity crash for yourself. Let it break all the way. Go like, okay, I'm nothing. see what remains, then go into that. So that's the one thing. And you can start doing that ideally if you're not in a total crisis.
Sure.
Maybe a little bit easier to start getting to know it a little bit, if it's not currently trying to annihilate you. For the other thing, the rebellion, one way to spot it might be that you're starting to shut out people from your awareness.
Yeah.
You're not
It seems
telling
very
anyone,
clear right now.
but
It seems,
internally.
yeah, it feels very clear right now. I feel like that could already be a big game changer to have a word for what it is that I'm experiencing there.
Yeah.
Because I do notice that, right? Like I do shut people out emotionally. That is exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find crazy how insightful that was in this short amount of time. Like this is really great. This is really great.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Lovely meeting you.
Lovely meeting you as well.
Have a lovely
Big pleasure.
evening. Good rest of your evening.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.